Hey everybody, welcome to Pealed Back's LiveCast Conversations With. This is episode 38. As always, I'm your host, Gene the Enjoyment Coach. Today, we get to have my friend Justina LeeStolz as the guest. So Justina is a Chinese, Irish, Scottish, German real estate professional born in Canada and raised in cities throughout the Okanagan. Justina holds a true appreciation for the beauty of the valley and the unique opportunities and advantages of the various Okanagan communities. An avid traveler and explorer, she's always looks forward to returning home to the Okanagan oasis. After a globetrotting adventure, nothing makes her appreciate home more than the friendly people, breathtaking scenery, and a cornucopia of agriculture available in the valley. Such awareness promotes her passion to advocate for the protection of the natural environments and make the valley such a desirable location, and she encourages her clients to make environmentally friendly choices that are economic benefit yet also ensure the sustainability of Okanagan futures. Justina comes equipped with a passion and a knowledge for real estate investing, and she is dedicated to sharing her experience to guide her clients in their decisions, whether it is the sale of a property or their first or 41st purchase. Her goal is always to connect local community. Justina, that's a lot of words, and they do not do you barely any of the justice.
That is a lot of words. I'm sorry you had to read all of that. I would have made it shorter.
That is all right. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun.
Well, it's just going to get started. So
ooh, we zoomed in too. That intro music too, I was just jamming. I was like, I wonder if they can see me dancing on the screen.
I can totally see you dancing behind the scenes. So I don't think the guests can see me because I'm always shaking and stretching as well. It's a good way to get warmed up and it's kind of fun. And everybody always ends up dancing, and it makes me smile and get a lot more comfortable getting into this. So
nice.
Let's hear a little bit about your journey. We've heard from your write-up. You're obviously a very good real estate person here in the Valley, but you're also an investor. What wasn't included in that is also a lot of the community work you do, especially around something called the 100 Awesome People. So there's so many areas to start. Why don't we just get a little bit started about what's driven you to love this community so much and keep investing in it through your career and your passions?
Yeah, definitely. This community is full of awesome people, and they're doing cool things like this, like having a podcast to highlight people in the community, which I think is amazing. And there are so many other businesses that are doing similar things in the sense that they are promoting community, they're promoting people to really support each other. And I'm big on family, and I'm big on community and engagement, and the idea that when you give, you will receive. And whether that is just in the gratification of giving and doing something good for other people and the satisfaction that you get from that, or whether that it's actually like the full karmic circle of something good happening to you or somebody giving you something. And I should caveat that with saying you can't give with the expectation of receiving. You just have to give knowing that somewhere along the line, it will come back to you in a good way.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a big push for me in doing the 100 Awesome People project. It wasn't originally my idea, so I will not take credit for that. Jennifer Thorne, who is a financial advisor with Alden Brown, it was her brainchild baby, which I'm not even sure that she knew she was giving birth to it to the world when she said it around me, because I latched onto it really hard. We were on a hike one day, and I've told this story before, but we were hiking and Jen was just freshly changed over from being a litigation lawyer into being a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And so she said, man, I wish I could meet 100 cool people in this community that have some sort of influence and impact. And me being a real estate agent this was probably 3-4 years ago. So I was maybe 2-3 years into my career. I was like, yes, I also would like to meet those people who have impact and influence and are affluent in the community. And through dialogue and conversation, we sort of figured out, yeah, you know what, we could actually do this as a project. We could each meet 50 people rather than 100 per person, and then feature those people and tell their story. Because if we find them interesting, I'm sure other people would also find their story interesting. And that's how that project was born. The 100 Awesome People project came out of a hike and collaborative discussion. So you never underestimate how far a discussion can take you. And yeah, it's been running for, it ran steadily for 2 years. We put out 100 people a year for the first 2 years, which was a lot of coffee and conversations with people. And then I took a year off because the second year I did it by myself. So the third year, I just needed a break from conversation.
Too much coffee, knowing you, probably too much ice cream.
Way too much ice cream. Yeah. And so I had to take a break. And then year 4 was this year I started up again, but it evolved into a podcast of its own. And there's a website for it and there's a YouTube channel. So I wanted to take it kind of to the next level of not just being an Instagram page with some photos and little snippets of people's stories, but diving deeper into those stories, because I was getting to hear people's cool backgrounds, histories of how they got to where they are, which I couldn't capture in my 300 word limit on Instagram or whatever it was at the time.
Well, I think that's, I think the project is really awesome because you got to highlight a lot of really cool people, meet a lot of cool people, which definitely is expands a network in this town and puts, that's that giving component. But what I really like about the evolution of it is that you started it small, and now you've continued over 4 years to pivot it and grow it and tweak it along its way to where it is today, starting from this idea on a hike where you're like, yeah, let's do that. That's going to benefit us really well, to now you've given out a lot of acknowledgement throughout the Okanagan Valley.
Yeah, it's been great that way. And the side benefit of it, or the unforeseen benefit to me, was that I got to learn a lot of cool skills along the way. So I got to learn how to really listen and interview people well. And also, when I decided to evolve it this year into something more than just the Instagram page, I took a foray into podcast editing and video editing and all of those fun creative avenues, which I love. And I went down that road, and then I realized that unless I was going to retire from being a realtor and do those things full time, I needed to hire somebody out. So I got to find another really cool connection in the community, who is now Lou Descharme, who is now my editor for all of those things.
Oh, that's awesome that you found somebody to do that. And yeah, that's, part of why I do this as a live cast is because I'm a little on the lazy side, and I don't want to do all that editing because I knew how much time it was going to take up, right?
It does take a lot of time. Yeah, it does. But I mean, and every podcast has its own flavor and style. And some of them, like yours, they just work for being live and you don't need to edit them afterwards. Yeah. Mine, because my interviews are a little bit longer, so they can be like an hour to 2 hours of length. I didn't want to subject my listening audience to such a lengthy period of time. So we chop out a lot of things and try and just crunch down on the goods.
Right. You do this whole exploration, and then you pull out just the diamonds from it after that and share it up. So how many episodes now on the podcast version are you up to?
We just released episode 10. Yeah, episode 10 of the podcast version is out. So I try and put out one episode like every 4 to 5 weeks or so, versus doing 1 or 2 every week, which is what I was doing when I was doing it as an Instagram post. It was 3 posts a week for the first year. And then it was like 2 to 3 posts a week for the second year, which was a very large time commitment every day or every week of the year.
Well, not just the posting, but then you have to go interview them and have a conversation, take that, distill it, then turn it into 350 words. Be like, it's that in an art is itself is an art to take all that and simplify it down just to its bare essence.
Yeah, I can thank my English degree for that. I have the ability to filter the words down. And as my English profs always would tell me, don't be so long-winded. Less is more. And I'd write like these big, long paragraphs of things or pages of things. And they'd be like, yeah, can you say that in like 10 sentences? This whole page, you want me to condense this into 10 sentences? But they make you do it. And honestly, it was the best exercise my profs ever put us through, is just, you really don't need all that fluff. Like you can take a sentence that's this long and make it this long. And it has the same effect, if not better and more, because it's concise.
Well, that leads me to a question of like, where else in your life has now like doing this and practicing it more shown up for you?
My
Like
English?
no, the removing of the fluff and like bringing it down
Oh.
to its essence.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so in real estate, I think I have gotten a lot less fluffy. I feel like when I started in real estate my first year or two, and I think in any job or career that people start in, you come in and you want to please the people. You know, you don't want to make enemies. You want to be everybody's friend and you want people to like you, and you really don't know what you're doing, so you need people to like you because you need their help. And yeah, I would say for the first year or two, I was dabbling into like, where do I fall in the real estate world? You have like the tycoons who are just really hardball and they just rock it in their own corner. And then you have like the really soft, fluffy people who like, I don't know, they just meld and mold to everything. And I think I found my happy medium somewhere in between where I can be tactful and I can be soft when I need to be with certain clients or certain other professionals that I work with. And then there's other clientele and people that I can just be completely straight with. So you kind of find your niche in the middle of how much goo and how much rock
Yeah.
before you work together.
So you've learned the right mix of the gooey rock now.
Yeah. We have a rock covered in goo. That's your image for where this went.
That's the takeaway, everyone. You write that down, put it on your wall.
Yeah,
right
get
Be
a rock,
gooey rock.
figure out how much goo.
Yeah. Well, then like that helps as well with by bringing it down to the essence. You have a better understanding of where those people are at, because at one point you're like, the fluff is good, and now you're like, oh well, I can help you guide your way a little bit more, and here's why we're cutting it out. And then on the flip side, the people are very like, give me the facts and only the facts. Be like, here they are. And you can pull them the other way as well a little bit too, right? It's almost like you're a bit of a bridge. You're between them all.
Yeah, I tell people often that in real estate you have to be a chameleon, and the hardest part of being a chameleon is not losing who you are underneath your changing colors.
Yes.
Because, and I find I guess that's really in any industry where you're dealing with people, if you want to do well and succeed in being able to work with a variety of people, because there are people who say, this is who I am, this is who I work well with, and that's it. That is my niche clientele. Don't send me those other people that don't fit with what I am. But I find if you want to be able to expand your business and your clientele outside of, say, one particular niche group, then yeah, in any industry, you have to be able to chameleon. And I think the first couple of years, I kind of lost who I was because I was so busy chameleon to each of my clients and each of the professionals I was working with. And eventually you have a moment you're like, hold the phone. What is happening? Who am I anymore? And then you go, oh, right. Okay. This is me. This is what makes me happy. This is where I go to bed at night and I feel like satisfied with myself. And then you hold on to that. And then you allow the colors to change on your gooey rock, and you come out of it still as your rock.
But you still know what your core is inside
Yeah.
that rock, right? It's all the beautiful crystals and everything else that goes inside.
Yeah.
Of it,
Oh, yeah.
right?
We're a geode now. We're a geode.
We're geode now. We're just
Nice.
expanding on this. We're going to be geode with a gooey outside shell.
Yes.
So was there like a moment or a set of like a span of time where you had that moment where you're like, whoa, who am I? Like, what was there like a thing that broke the camel's back, or what was the aha point for you?
I think I'm still looking for my aha, I guess. So I was chatting with some people about this on a hike over the weekend, is that when I was younger, I mean, I'm still young, but when I was younger, I was one of those people who was a diehard into things. Like if I believed in something, say environmentalism, for example, I happened to do a degree in geography as well as English. So I was just fully committed, 100% faith and belief into my environmental pursuits of saving the world and having a global impact and all that kind of stuff. And then the straw that broke the camel's back was actually a trip that I took to Cuba. And in Cuba, there is no major country recycling system. There is no education in their education system about recycling or reusing materials or anything of that nature, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong. Maybe that's changed. This was several years ago that I went on this trip. But when I went to Cuba, I walked through the streets and there was garbage everywhere. Like there just wasn't a clean street. I mean, some of the touristy areas, like somebody had gone through and swept the streets so the tourists wouldn't really see that. And if you go to resort, you will never see that because obviously they hire people to clean. But I stayed in Old Havana and I stayed in the core of the city in little 1-bedroom apartments with Cuban families because I believe in experiencing culture through people. And the streets were they were dirty. They're full of garbage. And we would go to the beach, beautiful, like Jean, beaches. You'd be driving up to them and you just see like this white shimmer of sand across the beach and you'd see the blue ocean on the other side. And as you walked closer and you started to get to the beach, you'd realize there was these little like black things all over the beach. And there were beer bottles and tamale wrappers and chip bags and just garbage everywhere.
Yeah.
And it broke me as a person who is like full on my whole life, like recycled my Apple stickers and like just intense into environmentalism and protecting the planet. And I went to Cuba and I realized for all of the Apple stickers I have recycled in my lifetime, there has been this whole country throwing their garbage into the ocean and throwing their garbage onto the beaches and letting it wash into the ocean and onto their streets. And it broke me. I have never, since that trip to Cuba, I have not had the unwavering faith and passion into anything in my life since then, because I'm like, is somewhere in the world, is somebody like completely opposing this passion of mine, which is what it was with environmentalism and recycling and saving the planet. It kind of got broken for me in Cuba, and I have yet to be that passionate about anything since, except for maybe the 100 Awesome People project. That would be probably the closest thing that I would say is like, I'll do it even if nobody else thinks it's cool. Yeah. Even if somebody else is like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I think the 100 Awesome People project is amazing. So I will continue to do that passionately.
That's interesting. So it kind of sounds like where you were when you got into the environmentalism and sounds like other things, like you weren't at a 10, you were like at 20. And then the stark realization that other people were at like a -10, just like, what is going on? That's it. I'm not saving another Apple wrapper to save my life. Yeah, all I'm thinking is, I think I've eaten some of those at points.
I've been told since that they're food grade biodegradable, so you can eat them and they can go in the garbage. It's fine. And I should caveat it. It's not that I don't do the same efforts that I did before. It was more of a mental switch for me. Like in my mind, I think I always felt this burden of like, my generation and me as part of that generation, we need to fix the havoc that's been created in the previous generations before us. And I created this boulder on my shoulder that I was like, I need to carry this weight around and I need to change the world because of it. And it's not that I didn't think that people were not recycling in other countries. Like I've watched the documentaries about the plastic islands and the whatever is in different countries. But I think just seeing it in real life and seeing the complete non-weight, the non-existent knowledge in Cuba, when I would talk to my friends there and be like, hello, you can't just throw your beer bottle onto the beach or like throw your can out into the ocean. Like here's this little white Canadian girl swimming out in the ocean, grabbing bottles and stuff and like bringing them back to shore and putting them by the overflowing garbage pail. But I think it was more so just the mental state of recognizing that there wasn't even an education there. So it's not like they were purposely choosing to not do it. They just didn't know any better.
Right.
Yeah.
So they, they didn't have an education around it. They didn't have habits around it. Mm-hmm. And then you had all these habits that were like, I'm going to save you. And then you're like, oh, you don't even know that you need to be saved. Shit.
I don't even care if I'm saving you because you don't even know.
well, you're defeating this. This sucks.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so, and I think the best part about all that is you talking about taking that boulder, that rock off your back, right? Are you now, when you do these things, how do you view it differently without that weight? And are you cognizant now of that weight? And I think I'm talking more about, are you fearful of that weight showing back up?
No, I don't think that it can. Like, I think the illusion that I had created for myself, and I'm a very creative person. Like I'm the person who, if I watch a movie, I'm crying or I'm sobbing or whatever is happening to the character, like I can fully dive into things.
Yeah.
And so the flip side of that is that I created this big illusion for myself, this weight, this boulder that I had to carry. And now that it's broken, like it can't be remade. It's done. Yeah. It's gone. I recycle all the things that I possibly can. I still encourage everyone I know to do that, but I don't feel this like martyrdom towards it where I need to badger people to recycle, because if they don't recycle, there are hundreds of countries in the world that don't recycle anything. So what's one person not recycling, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think the important component there is that sticks out for me is like that martyrdom and the what you didn't use the word nagging, but you know, like trying to convince somebody of something where they don't have that belief. Like that in itself becomes just a heavy badge to wear, and a lot of people do wear that, hoping I'm going to change this person. And you hit on it earlier, is like you were making this big push, but there was somebody else pushing the opposite way. So just kind of negating it. So nothing was happening. You need to stop and almost create this space for yourself to be like, I'm going to do my best. And if somebody wants to, see what I'm doing and model it after me, awesome. That's my impact. I'm no longer going to like grab you by the hair and try to drag you into my way of life.
Yeah, exactly. It was simultaneously a heart-wrenching thing, but also a very freeing thing. It was heart-wrenching to realize that every little plastic bag or apple sticker or piece of plastic or straw that I had recycled was probably negated by one that had been just tossed onto the beach or into the ocean in Cuba.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it released from me the burden of thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Or will my life be even worthy if I haven't made some global impact in the environmental sector? Right. And so it freed me up to pursue other things. And part of that is where I am now, doing things that, one, make me passionate and help me to encourage other people to be passionate about what they're doing, but not to take on the weight of the world into your own life, because you can only change your world, which is the one that you impact around you. Yeah. And if that happens to have a ripple out to a greater impact, then great, but it shouldn't be the be all end all of measuring of worth.
That is a powerful statement all in itself, is like managing your own ripple, knowing the effects of it, and not letting, what's going to happen 10 ripples away that you have no control over impact how much worth you put on yourself.
Yeah.
Very powerful. That's the clip right there.
Cut. We're good. So Jean, I want to know what inspired you to create this podcast?
That's a great question. So, you know what? It's just an opportunity to talk to people. That's like the low level selfish side, because I like talking to people. What I really want to do is just like have conversations like we were just having now, like get into it. And because I believe, I think as Jim Rohn says, success leaves clues. And I'll expand on that. And I believe success leaves billboards. And those billboards need to be printed with the full story about what's going on, right? Like I've always been in all my entrepreneur adventures and consulting and everything. It's like, I want people to talk about like the shit that's going on behind closed doors, right? Like so many people will be like, look, my life's great. Check out my Instagram. I'm smiling. Wife's happy. Everything's good. Woo. And behind closed doors, their like life is in ruins, right? And like drinking and crying themselves to sleep. Yeah. And I think that's important for people to hear, that there is, people can be in the pit of despair and know that they can get out. And because my story or your stories or one of the other 37 guest stories, I've had comments from people that have gone, hearing that actually helped me. I know I'm not alone, and B, be like, I didn't think about it that way. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I just want to be able to provide more opportunities for people to go, I didn't think about it that way. There's some thoughts to think about, or, I feel like I'm in that person's shoes, 5 years ago, they got out of it. Well, maybe I can get out of it, right? Like, how can we get to this point that we can help people stack more good thoughts and more good energy over top of our brains, hardwired proponent to stack everything negative to keep us safe, because we used to be chased by saber-toothed tigers. Now they're just in our heads, right? So
Yeah.
I just want people to be I want people to enjoy life. That's why I call myself an enjoyment coach, right? Like, there is so much life to live and so many things to look forward to. And if we share some of the behind the scenes stuff, that can really help somebody. And plus, it helps take that weight off too, right? Everybody's got their own boulder to wear, so start taking them off. Long-winded going about it, and flipping the script here.
I love it. I love it. I love knowing people's why, and I don't mean like the deep philosophical why you are doing the things you're doing in life, but the why of a project, the why of a business, the why of even a comment that people make. It's just interesting to understand other people's thought processes, because I think we can be so hung up in our own brains, and you just never have that opportunity to look at the world from somebody else's perspective until you hear it. Like, I was sitting on a bench eating ice cream, Parlor, of course.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Parlor and Omar. On Mother's Day with my mom. We were sitting down at City Park, watching the world go by, as you do. And I turned to my dad and I just said, people are weird, man. And he looked at me and goes, what do you mean? I said, we're just sitting here. We sat there for probably a good 15, 20 minutes, and we just watched people walk by, and all kinds of people, different sizes, different heights, different colors, different clothing, not clothing, just all kinds of people. And I turned to my dad, I said, people are freaking weird. I said, I'm the only normal person I know. And he goes, that's probably true, because in your world, you are the only measure of normalcy. And I said, yeah, all these people are weird.
And if you can't identify who the weirdo is in the room, it's probably you.
It's probably you. Yeah.
And, props. Everyone should be honestly waving their weirdo flag. We're all a little bit strange, and we all have our own quirks and everything else. And it's, to take that back to like your question about why, what's my why? I find my why helps me to not get stuck in the how, right? Like a lot of people won't do things because they're like, I don't know how to do it. Be like, well, why are you doing it? Why are you like, what are you going to be, is this something you could be passionate about? Great. Just start. Like you could go back to episode 1 and 2 of this thing. Like, they were like, literally episode 1 was me and my friend Tom while he was out on his parents' or in-laws' farm, just finishing, I think, gutting a goat. And I'm like, hey, you want to go on live right now? Like, I'm going to do this. He's like, yeah, give me 5 minutes to clean up.
Sure. Let me just wash my hands.
Right? But I didn't care about the how, and like everything else around this can help people hopefully go, look, I can just get started. It starts with 1, and what we know at the start is the least, and what we'll know at the end is the most. And to get there, we actually have to do some things that are going to be uncomfortable that we don't know about, right? Like every episode has a little tweak, has a little improvement. Like down below, we've got these place cards here. Didn't have that before. Those. So like this is.
Oh, really? Oh, yes.
So you're the trial on this one, right? Like how can I, you ask about my why. I just want people to try new things. I want curiosity for people. I think curiosity just opens up so many doors. And you talk about perspective. Being able to sit there and look at something from a different angle, or from a different, actually stand in those people's shoes, be like, it's eye-opening, right? We're going to go from this much of vision to this, to this, to this. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, well, these people aren't horrible after all. I guess maybe we do have some things in common. Weird, eh?
Yeah. These guys are actually all right.
So if we can get a few more people to say, hey, these people are all right, the better off we are.
Totally.
Right. And that lines up into that go-giver mentality. Is like, we want to be able to give. We want to see the karmic circle will go around. You give for the sake of value, to bring value to somebody else. And by the end of it, what you have to be, you talked earlier about this, is like giving. You got to be open on the other side to complete that circle, right? Doesn't mean you're giving with an expectation of what to get. And, I think that really sums up a lot of what you do. You do give a lot to your community, through your, I've noticed you I don't know if you're still doing them, but you were doing like interviews with businesses and stuff, just to give them shout out, to use your network and to share, the power that you've grown and the connections to other people.
Yeah, that's, So aside from the 100 Awesome People project, which I am still running, I do run a separate project called the Tour the Town project. And that is more focused towards my partner businesses in town that are, again, amazing people that are running cool businesses. And so the differentiation between the two is that in the 100 Awesome People project, you have to have a business or a project or a side hustle or something that has a social impact in the community greater than just your friends and family.
Right.
Whereas in the Tour the Town project, you just have to have a business in the community that exists and that is doing something cool. And you have to obviously be connected to me somehow in order for me to find you, to be able to feature you. But the Tour the Town project is about supporting local business. It is about getting locals to become aware of these cool businesses in town and to go and spend their money there. And obviously, yeah, we'll take foreigner money and other people's monies too. But the idea is to have local people understand the benefit of supporting their local businesses and trying to shop as local as you can. So that program is all about megaphoning our community.
So how long and how many people have you profiled on it?
In the Tour the Town, that program, that idea has existed, I would say, for probably 5 or 6 years now. And it's gone through its own evolution as well. And I love talking to people who are at the start of a project or midway or who have really flushed it all out, because I can see how it happens. Like the Tour the Town project started as I was buying stuff from local businesses, putting it in gift baskets and giving it to my clients when they were buying or selling properties.
Right.
And at one point I said to one of the businesses, like, hey, I spend a lot of money here and I'm giving your stuff to my clients. Would you consider, if I tell my clients to come spend more money here, if they run out of whatever product or service I've purchased from you, would you give them some sort of discount as being a perk of working with me and the fact that they've already used some of your stuff? And the business was like, yeah, that sounds okay. I could do that, like a buy one, get one, or a discount or something like that. And so then I approached all of the businesses that I was buying stuff from and asked them if they would be interested in doing that. And they pretty much all said yes. So I think at one point the program was about 35 different businesses, and it was a physical passport. Like I was designing and creating and printing these physical passport size booklets, and every page was a different local business, and there was some sort of discount or incentive in there for my clients. So it was clientele specific for them to go and get something from these businesses, and they had to spend money. There was no freebies. You couldn't just go around and collect all the free things and then leave. You had to go and spend some money and support local. And then what I realized is with a physical hard copy anything, people lose that. The dog eats it. It becomes fire paper at Christmas. It gets lost in between the couch. It never leaves the basket I gave it to them in. So I explored all different avenues of how could I take this digital? Could I put it as a private sign-in page only on my website? Could I turn it into an app? And both of those things cost an exorbitant amount of money. And for a free program that I was running, it didn't really make a whole lot of economic return sense for me.
The ROI wasn't there for it.
What's that?
I said the ROI definitely wasn't there for it.
No, it was like 0 ROI on that. So I was like, how do I want to keep this going because I love doing the videos and promoting different local businesses, but how do I make this happen so people actually use it? So it's evolved into now a YouTube channel of I make the videos, and again, my buddy Lou edits the videos for me, and we put together these little 2 to 3 minute promo videos of the different businesses. And there's always a code word in those videos that gives you, as the general public, it's not even clientele specific anymore. There's a code word in there that gives you some sort of discount or incentive if you go there to that business, say the code word, and then take a selfie and post it. So the idea is, again, to try and support those local businesses by getting some social media stuff happening for them.
So it comes back down to that networking effect and being able to give and watching all those other people give and the ripple that it has, right? Like you get to feel good. You've served your client. Now you've served your community. Now you're serving these businesses, and they're all now partaking in that serving and pushing it forward. That's really cool. And so it's just like we can go around town and find out what the Justina discount is everywhere.
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Be like, now businesses need that as a badge. Be like, do you have a Justina discount? Be like, no.
Ooh. Oh, I
Awkward.
don't know.
This is awkward.
Yeah, and I mean, there's obviously a benefit to me too. I get to be seen as the face that's connecting all these different places. And if I can, I try and leave some business cards up at the front. So then my face gets to be around town too. So it's a two-way street. Like, I'm getting benefit out of it. I'm trying to create benefit for these businesses. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to, how do you create community in your life? And I don't know if other people struggle with this, but sometimes I struggle to think, like, what's the point? What impact is it really having? Like, would any of these businesses or anybody really miss that aspect if it was gone, or miss me? If you want to go really deep, like, would anybody miss me if I was gone? And then I'll read like some self-help book or watch some inspirational TED talk or whatever, where they'll tell a story about one person having one impact in one other person's life, and then they show the ripple effect of how all of that happens. And I'm like, oh, right, yes, okay. As much as you can feel very isolated in the world that you're operating in and the things you're doing on a daily basis, and you wonder if anybody would really notice if you were gone, if you can trace even a day's worth of ripple effect impacts, you're reminded that, yes, you are part of a bigger cog and a bigger wheel. You are cog in a bigger wheel. And you missing out of that wheel definitely makes things a little more wobbly.
Yeah, it takes it out of balance, right? The harmony of your ripples will no longer be there, and they will be felt.
Or not felt.
Well, or not felt, but they will. Well, they'll still have an impact, right? Because the lack thereof now causes something else to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody was saying to me the other day, I had a deep conversation. It wasn't an argument, but it was a deep conversation with a friend about the concept of luck. And he had said to me, oh, you're so lucky to have found a career that you feel that like suits you and that you can excel in. And I said, I do believe in luck, but there's very little luck in the universe. A lot of it is freaking grinding and hard work and networking and connections and putting yourself into environments and places where luck can find you and run into you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky to be born to the parents that I was born to. That's luck. And I mean, some people would argue not even that was luck. Your parents went through all these different steps and avenues to get to the point where they met. So was it luck, or was it just meant to happen? But there's very little luck, I feel, in success. And people always say that when they're either jealous, ignorant, or unaware of the work that went into making that overnight luck.
Yeah. Oh, 100. I am on the same page with you. I think luck needs to be crafted and created, and the space for it to actually develop needs to be there. And that means that there's no actual luck. It was preparation. It was hard work. It was seeing an opportunity and being open to it. Luck doesn't happen to the ones who aren't open to it, right? Like, the most luckiest random people, you look around and be like, why? They're open to the universe for whatever's coming, right? And they keep putting themselves into those situations. It's going to be what you look for at the flip side to those people that are like, oh, you're just so lucky. Be like, maybe to you, but I worked hard for it and I really enjoy what I do. So I guess I am lucky in that sense of it. But the things that happened weren't based on luck. They were based on, I had a vision for where I wanted to go. I had a strong why, and you just worked your ass off and just did things other people weren't open to.
Yeah. I remember somebody telling me a story about a fake interview that happens, and they have 3 candidates. And so it happens at a coffee shop, and the interviewer is sitting in the coffee shop at a table, and candidate number 1 comes in, and they look around the shop and they're looking for the interviewer, and the barista tells them, oh, sorry, your interview is canceled. They're not here. Tough luck. And they're sad and they're disappointed and they walk out and they're upset. And then the second person comes in, they see the one person sitting at the table, and they go and they walk over and they sit down. They have the interview and it goes really well. But at the end of it, the interviewer says, I'm sorry, we still have one more candidate. We're not going to make our decision yet. And they walk away and they're kind of downtrodden and whatever. And then the third person comes and they go to open the door and it's locked. And they look around and they see that there's a $5 bill on the ground, which has obviously been planted, but they pick up the $5 bill and they don't get the interview. They don't get an opportunity for a callback, but they walk away and they go, oh, I'm so lucky. I found $5 today. So it's all about the perspective and whether or not, like you had said, whether or not you're open to receiving the good luck and good fortune that you kind of manufacture for yourself by being in the right mindset, mind frame, and being in the right places.
Yeah. Well, I think that mindset component is so critical, right? Like the person that found the $5 be like, well, that's a pretty good day.
It's a great day.
I'm going to go buy myself a coffee at the shop that is open.
Yeah.
Versus going, oh, I lost this opportunity. Be like, well, if we think about from the ripple side of it, what opportunities now are going to be open because you don't have, because that opportunity missed. Maybe that in yourself is the luckiest thing that you've ever had, right? Like, I lean a little bit more to the goo side. Is like I believe in that universal stuff more. I would say more often than not. Sometimes I get in my own head, but for like 99% of the time, be like, oh, that sucked. What does it really mean? And what's this about to open up? Why did this happen? What can I learn from this?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting if you ever looked back at your life and looked at things that have happened to you or where you're at and thought, wow, if I had done something different, or like if I had gotten that job, or if I had, turned right at that stop sign or whatever, these other things would have happened, or this cool thing that did happen would have never happened, or I would have never met this other person. And like, sometimes it's mind blowing to think about the things that have happened to you because something else didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, 100% agree. And it's good to do that little audit every once in a while. Be like, okay, you if you're happy where you're at in that moment, can you look back and go, hey, wow, all those things that I thought were horrible and really like, oh, why did this happen to me? For this right here.
This is it.
This is it. Yes. And if you're in the moment right now where you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? Trust us that something good is going to happen. If you put in the work, in the work, it will come.
That's one of my favorite things to do right now. Is when, given the world that we're in and the real estate market is insane right now, when things are just piling on and on and on and on, and you're like, oh my God, what is happening? When is this ever going to end? And then I think that step back perspective exercise of like, 1 week from now, am I going to care about this?
Yeah.
No, probably not. 1 day from now, like if it's really stressful, is this going to matter in 12 hours? No. Okay, fine. Then it's not that life threatening. It's not that awful. We will survive.
100%.
Yeah.
So you know how I said it before we got started that I'm going to look up and be like, wow, we're like 40 plus minutes in. Be like, we're 43 minutes in. I knew that this wasn't going to be a hard thing. I have a real estate agent on here. We haven't even talked about real estate once right at the end. Just that it's crazy. And it's crazy. The rest of it, what an awesome conversation. So I ask all guests, we're going to hop into my time machine. We're going to go back 10 years, and you're going to have opportunity to give yourself one piece of advice before we have to flash back to the present.
One piece of advice.
One piece of advice.
Don't be afraid to look like an idiot.
Ooh.
And that goes with the lesson that you will never achieve your greatest potential if you don't look like an idiot failing along the way, to then realize what you can do, what you are possible and capable of doing, because you find your limits when you fail.
I love it. It's really powerful. That's great. That is a great piece of advice and a great way to end this episode on. Justina, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciated this time and this conversation. It was great. There was a lot of gems. I look forward to slicing some of them out and sharing them specifically with people.
Thank you, Gene. That was fun.
And everybody else, thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. And find one thing to be a little bit curious about for the rest of this week. Get in it. There's something good there. All right. Until next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.